Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So, we are from group 1 and we have did our paper, and our paper is about analysis of the influence of ISIS in socio-cultural, religious, and political aspect in Indonesia. Before we jump into the topic and into the explanation, I would like to introduce the member of our group. First, there is Hayaningrum Cita Maharsi, and second, there is Dewita Putri Maharani. Third, there is Nabila Maulida Amar. Fourth, there is Usman Triwahyudi, and last but not least, there is me, Abdul Falah Abdul Rahim. So let's go into the next topic, which is introduction, which will explain by Nabila Maulida Amar.
Thank you. So that I will explain about first the emergence of the ISIS itself. The emergence of ISIS declared by the representative of ISIS, Abu Muhammad al-Adnani, on 29 June in 214. So that this declaration of ISIS marks the reorganization of forming the caliphate in the world. So that ISIS invites all Muslims in the world to join and accept the Khilafah. The development of ISIS itself is very fast, which supported by the capability of natural resources and also the decent human research. The natural resources itself including the ownership of rich oil resources, large weapons, and also good technological capabilities. And this is also supported by the human resources that come from various countries in the world, such as the Middle East, Asia, the Western countries such as the Europe and the US, and even Australia. So that ISIS also controls so many areas that were previously controlled by the Iraq and Syrian government. But as an Islamic caliphate, ISIS claims to have religious, political, and military authority for all Muslims in the world by engaging all Muslims to join in supporting the existence of Khilafah Islam. So the goal of ISIS itself is to control the government, to establish and maintain the institution of Khilafah, which they call Daulah Islamiyah. So that the difference of ISIS itself, the ISIS formed the adaptation to the development of Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda is still in the form of to fight the United States in borderless. So that Al-Qaeda is a social movement organization which is borderless. And the methods and the movement from ISIS itself to reach its goals. ISIS is also supported by funding, such as the contributors of funding itself is from the various activities that they do, including the funding come from taxes, bank takeovers, from and so ransoms from kidnappings, and also smuggling from the cultural heritage, and also oil smuggling. And the ideology of ISIS itself, that they are really willing to sacrifice their body and soul or jihad fisabilillah. So that the doctrine for the ISIS itself is based on Salafi jihad. ISIS also has the capability to control networks through various modern communication media such as social media and online media. The aim is to control the global media network and to take over the media control from the US itself. In our discussion, our analysis is to focus the influence of ISIS in Indonesia, such as in political aspect, socio-cultural aspect, and also religious aspect. Maybe that's all from me, and the next will be explained by Usman Triwahyudi.
Okay, this is political aspect, that analysis of political aspect. There are 4 points in the slide that were mentioned in the slide. The first is returning ex-ISIS in Indonesia. The problem of returning the former ISIS member to the country at least raises the pro and contra. Not only people who are aware of other actions that have been brought about, but also raises awareness in the politics and governance of Republic of Indonesia. As well know, ISIS is a transnational organized crime group that causes terror throughout the world. This group consists several people from all parts of the world, including Indonesia, where if some of them were repatriated to the motherland, it is not possible that it will be affect the order of the Indonesian state and could even threaten national sovereignty. In addition, there are still many impacts caused by repatriation of ex-ISIS, such as radicalism, which is not impossible that these radicalism issues will affect our members of parliament and can even influence existing law. So next, for the second point, the possible of problem that will be arise if former ISIS were members were repatriated. The issue of radicalism itself is actually quite widespread among the public. But if the former ISIS continues to return to Indonesia, it seems that something that will be fear is even greater. The reason is that in their ideology, radicalism has become the basis or jihad in their language to create a structure of Islamic caliphate in its implementation and condemns the existence of other ideologies beside that. The reason is quite clear that they broke a fairly high level of militant enthusiasm as a result of the influence of ideology applied ISIS to them. The third point was the government attitude toward former ISIS member. As was known previously, around last February, the Indonesian government had decided not to repatriate the former ISIS to Indonesia. The Indonesian government considers this to be very risky for the government, which later is feared to cause a commotion in Indonesian territory. The ability of the government to detect the influence of the new ideology is also very low, and lack of attention to certain ideologies, which will be a boomerang for Indonesian government. The decision not to repatriate the former ISIS also had pro and contra in the government, because there were some impacts if the former ISIS was not repatriated. The last point was possible response that will arise toward government attitude. There are some effects from the government attitude toward ISIS. First, after the ISIS camp was disbanded, they would automatically be scattered and divided into groups, which would be difficult to be monitored by Indonesian government. And it was not impossible that they will also infiltrate back into Indonesia. The Indonesian citizens of former ISIS are also likely to be treated to some countries in the West in particular, and this will actually cause criticism for Indonesian government in the international arena. On the other hand, the government's decision not to repatriate the former ISIS has come under fire from the opposition. They argue that this decision would violate human rights, which would also make the government rethink about the repatriation. This opposition also considered that the government does not defend its own citizens, does not defend Muslims, and is even accused of abandoning children and women who have basically violated human rights. Conversely, if the government repatriates the former Indonesian citizen of ISIS, it will also have impact on several political aspects, such as the threat of sovereignty and the influence of the ideology of radicalism that was mentioned earlier. In addition, politically, this actually becomes a threat to the government because the possibility of this former ISIS member infiltrate the seat of government and influencing some high-ranking members of the council to make policies that can make it easier for them to launch radicalization, action, and even easily influencing the structure and order of government in government, as well as the ideology of nation, which has been embedded since day of the independence first. Therefore, the decision not to repatriate ISIS member has positive side that make comfort and peace in the scope of Indonesian society, despite pro and contra in it. So, for this is for from me.
Okay, and I will explain about the religious aspect into 4 points. The first point, we will talk about what has been done by ISIS to the religion minorities and the underage children. We can see that ISIS has an ideology that prioritizes the caliphate system and upholds the religion of Islam. The action that they take to implementing the caliphate system can be said to cruel and abusive. And the action of ISIS group is very dangerous in religious aspect, especially in minority religions that are threatened by ISIS group, such as Christianity. However, everything changed when non-Muslim religions, especially minorities, were targeted by anyone who opposed ISIS ideology and would be treated harmful, such as displacing their home, killing who is not agree with their ideology, replacing their leadership, and for everyone that have different cultures, social, and religion to the ISIS group itself. ISIS is also not only about Christianity, but the group of ISIS also affects children who are underage to commit the violence as an exercise to become a successor member, and impose false teaching that Islam should not teach. For example, like the ISIS senior teaching the murdering, applying violence, and teaching the use of bombs as a suicide bombs, that it can be said of the death of jihad. And also the senior in ISIS representing the underage children with persecution, torture and mutilation, harsh punishment, and also for the girl, they can take to become mistress for the guy in ISIS. This is where the bad rules gain fairness in organization in the name of Islam. If we look at reports on the case of ISIS influence in Christianity, there are so many female or women victims employed as sex slaves who are traded among ISIS groups, and also rape and forced abortion if there is occurrence of pregnancy. And the main reason why ISIS prefer the negotiation based on Islam, because ISIS group believes that jihad made the motivation for the men to fight and prioritize their death. So they think they could quickly enter to heaven and felt like their task in the world was finished. Next to the Dalil Al-Quran about jihad, actually there are around 30 Dalil in Al-Quran explain about jihad and allowing the holy war for example in Surah An-Nisa verse 95 explain that Allah will give the person who join the jihad wealth and Allah promising heaven and a great reward. But in the Al-Quran also in Surah Ali Imran verse 142 explain the argument about jihad, which is it not certain that those who carry out jihad will go to heaven, and not always who implementing the jihad is the person who have a big patience. Is it true that in the Al-Quran there is a sentence of jihad, which means holy war? But however, Islam does not justify or legitimize or carry out the killing of innocent people. Moreover, what Al-Quran means also does not bring women and children as a part. including in the war. However, the actions taken by ISIS in the name of jihad doesn't describe what the meaning in Al-Quran, and instead spread ideologies that are not true and fight actions that are prohibited in the Al-Quran. After what has been done is by ISIS in the command of God based on their ideology that teach violence, they wipe out many minority population in several regions in the Middle East, especially Christians. In Iraq in 2003, there are 1.4 million of Christian population, decreased, become 260,000 population in 2050. And also in the Syria, there are 2 million of Christian population in 2011, and decreased, become 1 million population in 2015. Next, about the perceptions about Islam in several countries. After all the actions carried out by ISIS, such as suicide that guarantee as a death of jihad, kidnapping some people to be forced to follow the path of ISIS, and applying all the violence that has been explained, the view of the countries toward Islam are not good enough, which is the people perception change that Islam is a religion that teach violence, teach to be terrorist, teach the followers to be on the path that is misguided. And what Usman said before, the actions taken by ISIS has caused many contra almost all over the world, especially in big countries like America and in some parts of Europe. The people, the citizen in America and some parts of Europe feel threatened by the Muslim populations and afraid if there are Muslims people around, or it can be said as the Islamophobia. And that's because not many big countries understand how the principles of Islam really are, which Islam actually loves peace and doesn't commit violence in Islamic thought. And the next explanation will be explained by Adil Falah.
Okay, thank you, Cheche. So, in the third analysis, I will explain about the socio-cultural aspect. But before you jump into the discussion, I would like to explain what actually the definition of socio-cultural. First, culture concerned to the way of life of the members of a given society, their habits and custom, together with the material goods they produce. Society refers to the system of interrelationship which connects together the individuals who share a common culture. No culture could exist without society, but equally, no society could exist without culture. Without culture, we could not be human at all. We would have no language in which to express ourselves. So after we know about the definition about the social culture, I would like to break down how it impacts the environment, specifically in the aspect of social culture. But first, we know Indonesia is a country who has had an ideology of Pancasila. But have you ever thought, or have you ever think, how many of them who really understand the meaning of Pancasila from the first sila until fifth sila, and how many of them who's implementing the value of Pancasila, and how many of them who has patriotism in its souls? The answer is not that much. According to the head of Presidential Work Unite for the Development of the Pancasila Ideology, and strengthened by the data from the National Resilient Measurement Laboratory, which known as Lab Kurtanas, and strengthened as well by National Resilient Institute, Lemhanas, there was a decline. There was a decline in the National Resilience Index from 2.31 in 2010 to 2.06 in 2016. So the decline is about 30. And the index is including the variables of tolerance, equality in law, equality, right to social life, and national unity. And even worse, in addition, there are 53% of people of Indonesians who not even memorize the national anthem lyrics, which is Indonesia Raya. That was very unfortunate, very shame. So from that, it is saying this as a weaknesses of Indonesia, and they also saying this as an opportunity or a chance to influence them to follow the understanding which brought by the ISIS. And you may know the understanding which brought by the ISIS, often called as radicalism. And the target of ISIS, the first is public figure. Since ISIS is an organization which has a background of Islam, ISIS choose public figure which known as Ustad in Indonesia. And from Ustad, they spread the understanding of the ISIS through kajian-kajian, khidbah, and also the taklimat written by them. And they're not only using Ustad as a media, but they also use media social. Why? Because social media is a medium for radical groups to destroy the moral of the millennial generation. Why millennial? Because millennial is easier to be influenced because it is promising something very, very good to the young generations. And understanding the value of the meaning of radicalism. According to Horace M. Kellen, radicalism has a strong will of the truth of the ideology or the program they carry. In social movement, radicals fight for the beliefs they profess. Radicalism will be a new culture for them as the believers of ISIS, and also will determine their behavior in the social life. So there will be a change in the social cultural before. And what will happen after that? Understanding radicalism, if not immediately addressed, will make the ideology of Pancasila increasingly eroded or decreased or forgotten. Because Indonesia is a country that is a very, very diverse, as we probably know, and varied both in terms of ethnicity, culture, race, and religion. Even the slight friction between these factors can be a trigger for the existing radical movement. It is mainly about religion and will also lead to the emergence of acts of terrorism in Indonesia. Maybe that was the final of the explanation from the third aspect. And next will be explained by Devita about the conclusion. Thank you.
So after we hearing the explanation from the others authors, we got the conclusion that ISIS is very detrimental to the Indonesian state. It is very dangerous to us, for its people, and also for our state. So with this, the authors provide suggestion how we can prevent and reduce the erosion of the ideology of Pancasila into this ideology of radicalism by means of understanding Pancasila well. Like what my friends Adil said before, the people in Indonesia needs to understand the first sila until the last sila. And also, we need to understanding Islam properly and not easily believing the new knowledge that we knew. So we need to do more research on something new that we heard from other people. And also, if we indicate a new organization that considered suspicious, we need to report indication of terrorism against that authorities. Why we need to do this? Because we can prevent terrorism action. And also, this is the most important things. We need to always maintain the security of our state, Republic of Indonesia. So that's all the conclusion from our paper. And thank you so much for you guys who watching this video from the start and to the end. Is there any add?
No, I think that is all, and we also hope whoever watch this video can get some of beneficial from this explanation. And thank you for all the presentator. Thank you for your participating, and please forgive us if there is a mistake. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.